Have you ever been in a meeting where one person, um, maybe the quietest one in the room, says just a few words and the entire strategy shifts?
Hmm.
The words just carry this incredible weight. They command the room without ever raising their voice or, even having the highest title.
And that's such a stark contrast to, say, the CEO or the high-ranking executive who should be the most powerful person there.
Right.
They might give a direct order, and you just feel this passive resistance, the sense of, okay, I'll do this, but just barely.
Exactly. And that fundamental paradox of power is what's what we're diving into today. Our sources provide a really profound look at this battle between authority, that formal positional power and influence.
Which is that quiet relational power.
Yes. And the argument we're going to unpack is that influence is really the currency of true, lasting leadership.
This is more critical now than it has ever been, especially for you navigating today's really complex work environment. We're facing rapid technological shifts. Teams are dispersed all over the globe.
And loyalty is fragile.
It's incredibly fragile. So if a leader tries to command compliance just through the hierarchy, well, they risk becoming obsolete.
Right.
Fast.
So authority gets you transactional compliance, but influence that transforms cultures. It secures real commitment and it drives genuine innovation.
Right.
Our mission in this deep dive is to give you a shortcut to understanding and applying these practical, timeless strategies for leading through service, through an ethical example, and ensuring your impact is, well, enduring.
Okay, so let's start with definitions, because these two concepts, they get confused all the time. What is the fundamental day-to-day difference between authority and influence?
Right. Let's be precise. So authority is granted, it's external, it comes from a title, a policy manual, an org chart.
It's job description.
It's the job description. Its function is to enforce rules, assign tasks, and, command compliance. If you're the manager, you have the authority to approve vacation time.
So it's built on an organizational contract. People comply because there are repercussions if they don't or rewards if they do.
You get action, sure, but it's often very shallow engagement. People are just checking the box. And innovation just stalls when teams feel controlled, not inspired.
That's the critical limitation. Influence, on the other hand, is earned. It's internal. It's that silent, often invisible force that moves hearts and minds, voluntarily.
Okay.
It's cultivated through trust, through demonstrated character, and through consistent, genuine service to other people. Influence inspires follow-through. Authority just mandates activity.
I think we need to linger on that paradox of power here for a second. The source material points out that in our modern knowledge-based economy, clinging to that rigid hierarchy, it's become a liability.
It absolutely is. I mean, you can't just order highly skilled, autonomous people into creative problem solving. It doesn't work that way.
No.
The gap between an ineffective leader and a truly transformative one lies right here. Those who rely on their position might get obedience right now, but they fail the moment the team faces a real challenge.
Because they haven't earned the trust needed for people to take risks.
Exactly. Leaders who choose influence, they gain that enduring credibility and that long-term self-driven impact.
Let's make this tangible. The sources contrast two figures in the same large company. One was a CEO with all the symbols of ultimate authority, the corner office, the massive salary.
The formal power. Yet his operational presence left almost no imprint. People followed policy, sure, but their energy was spent managing upwards.
Calculating how their actions serve the hierarchy, not the mission.
Right. And when that CEO retired, the loyalty walked out the door with him. It was gone.
And now contrast that with the mid-level supervisor in the supply chain department of the very same company. This person had minimal formal authority outside his own team, but he invested personally. He actively listened to their challenges, the late nights, the family issues. He mentored them on their careers, not just their daily tasks.
He was a burden bearer. And years later, employees remembered him not for the policies he controlled, but because he was instrumental in shaping their professional lives.
And the difference in output was startling. His team had lower turnover, higher initiative, and they consistently found creative solutions because they trusted him enough to take risks.
To admit failure without fear.
Right. Authority demands compliance, but influence, it cultivates an environment where people want to succeed. And that's what creates enduring impact.
Which brings us nicely to the next section. This idea that leadership is rooted in service, it's a timeless concept. It predates modern management theory by thousands of years.
So let's look at the foundational models in the source material.
Well, the foundational principle is inherently radical, right? It inverts our whole expectation of power. It says true leadership isn't dominion over others, it's service that cultivates trust and inspires voluntary followership.
It's totally counterintuitive to the command and control culture.
Completely.
And probably the most powerful historical example of this comes from the model of Jesus Christ. The sources highlight the transformative power shown when he washes his disciples' feet.
That act was so deliberately countercultural. In that era, foot washing was the job of the lowest servant.
Someone with zero status.
Exactly. Yet, the figure recognized as the leader takes on this incredibly humble role. It's a fundamental declaration that leadership isn't about being served. It's about serving others in a way that elevates them. It earns respect not through force, but through vulnerability.
What's so fascinating is how this model applies even to leaders who had massive formal power.
Yeah.
Like Moses. His authority was, absolute. It was given directly from a divine source.
Absolutely. His authority was immense. But his enduring leadership wasn't about the thunder on the mountain. It was because he continually bore the burdens of his people.
He was with them.
He was with them. He interceded for them when they faltered. He walked with them for 40 years in the wilderness. He maintained this rigorous integrity and connection. His influence was built on service, not just command.
So the core thesis holds. Whether you're a CEO or a mid-level supervisor or an ancient prophet, the greatest among you shall be your servant. Service transforms positional power into relational loyalty.
And that leads to the next point. Influence isn't passive. It's cultivated intentionally through specific multipliers. There's a clear framework in the sources. Service drives trust, trust generates influence, and influence results in lasting impact.
Service is the engine.
Service is the engine, but the body of that engine, what keeps it from wearing out, is character and integrity.
We talk about good character in such vague terms.
Yeah.
What do the sources say about how this specifically multiplies influence in a high-stakes scenario?
Well, character is magnetic, but influence is incredibly fragile. It shatters the moment there's an inconsistency between a leader's words and their actions. Leaders who are ethically consistent, even when no one is watching, they inspire emulation because they're dependable. We see this so powerfully with Joseph.
Who is an incredible example because he had zero authority. He was a slave
Right.
and then a prisoner.
Precisely. Sold into slavery, imprisoned on false accusations, and he maintained absolute integrity. He served faithfully, he managed resources competently, behaved consistently, no matter his title.
That consistency created this data point of deep reliability.
So much so that when Pharaoh needed someone trustworthy to navigate a catastrophic famine, he didn't need a charismatic politician. He needed someone of proven, consistent character.
And that ethical consistency translated directly into political and economic influence that literally saved an empire. It shows that influence born of character can completely override positional authority.
We see a similar pattern with Daniel. He faced constant pressure in Babylon to compromise his standards, to conform. But because he maintained those ethical boundaries, his influence retained its integrity. He became indispensable because his advice was seen as pure, not self-serving.
When your moral credibility is high, your relational influence is essentially boundless. And that influence, if you nurture it, becomes generational through mentorship.
That's the force multiplier. Influence becomes exponential when leaders invest relationally. Look at Paul's mentorship of Timothy. Paul didn't just delegate tasks. He invested patiently, offered encouragement, modeled character.
He ensured Timothy's legacy was built on that shared credibility.
Right. Influence doesn't end with you. It multiplies through the people you invest in.
So this gives us clear, actionable pathways for cultivating influence today. The first is prioritizing listening before you speak. That active listening builds trust and it reveals needs.
And the second pathway is investment. Genuinely focusing on other people's growth. When your team sees that you are committed to their success, even if they leave your team, your influence multiplies.
Because you've shown you're selfless. So we've connected these ancient principles to modern ideas of trust and loyalty. But what does this all mean for a leader today, in the boardroom or, managing a remote team?
It means we have to understand the context. Servant leadership is the gold standard, but there are moments of genuine crisis. A server crashes, a market collapses, where clear, decisive authority is necessary.
That's a good point. How do you prevent influence from being too slow?
The key is that the leader who relies on influence 90% of the time earns the credibility to exercise authority decisively in those 10% crisis moments.
People follow the orders because they trust the character of the person giving them.
Not just the title on their door, exactly.
And when you look at history, influence always triumphs over mere authority in achieving deep societal change.
Think about William Wilberforce. He never held the ultimate power in England, yet he wielded this relentless persuasion and personal integrity to lead the movement to abolish the slave trade. His influence was all rooted in ethical consistency.
Or Mother Teresa. She had absolutely no formal authority, no armies, no budgets.
No corner office.
Nothing. Yet she transformed global perspectives on compassion through tangible, sacrificial acts of service. Her influence moved governments because it was built on visible service and humility.
And in business today, organizations are catching up because the data proves this works. Companies that foster mentorship, relational trust, psychological safety.
All hallmarks of influence.
Right. They see measurable gains, lower turnover, higher engagement, more discretionary effort. Servant leadership isn't just a moral choice, it's measurably effective.
So if you're looking to audit your own leadership style, the sources suggest reflecting on your current sphere of influence. Who can you serve this week to intentionally build trust?
And it doesn't have to be some grand gesture, it's the small, consistent acts.
Right.
And we'd recommend using a consistency journal to audit the alignment between your words and your actions. If you promise a team member your time, deliver on it. If you preach ethics, make sure your expense reports are spotless.
Every time you align your behavior with your values, you strengthen your capacity for influence.
Mm-hmm. Remember that contrast. Authority may demand compliance in the short term, but influence inspires transformation and creates enduring loyalty. Your choice dictates your legacy.
At the end of the day, leadership isn't defined by what others owe you because of your title. It's about what you give. When you lead with heart and integrity, your influence becomes your authority. Your service becomes your lasting legacy.
So as you go back into your roles, maybe consider this. How might prioritizing connection over control, that fundamental shift from demanding compliance to earning influence, transform your leadership dynamic this week?